Hey guys, Carl here, Cultivate with Carl, and man has it been busy. It is Mardi Gras day here in the South, and for those of you who don't have Mardi Gras, well, you're missing out. I was lucky enough to go ride in a Mardi Gras parade on Sunday, and I had Monday, Tuesday off because of my cool new job, so I was able to work in the yard both Monday and Tuesday, and man, did I get a lot done. We're going to take a look here in a minute. We'll just take a spin around, but all those buckets you can see right down here have all been filled. Those are empty. And I did a mixture of dirt. You saw in the intro where I was at the nursery picking up the truckload of dirt. And we'll talk about that. We'll talk about how I did the beds. But so far, what I've been able to do this weekend was I mix the dirt and fill the buckets. I refurbished all the beds, and then I fixed the irrigation system on all the beds in the front, plus the irrigation system on all the beds around the fence. So it's been a full couple days, and now the goal is today, before the end of the day, to get the potatoes, the first round of potatoes in the ground. I turned out I accidentally ordered too many potatoes. I've got a lot more than what I imagined, basically a double order, because what happened was I ordered from one vendor, and that vendor didn't list like a pending order. So I forgot. Well, I said, well, let me go back and check that vendor to see if, in fact, I ordered. Well, I didn't see a pending order. And so then I said, well, great, I didn't order from them. Let me order from this other vendor. And then when I ordered from the other vendor, that pending order hit right as the first vendor, he sent me a shipping notification. And so I was like, oh, crud. So I ended up getting twice the potatoes. Thank goodness for the second vendor. I only ordered 2.5 pound bags. So that's not going to be too bad. But I'm excited about the variety that I have. And the great thing is I like potatoes. So we're going to be able to either, I'll eat them, I'll store them, or I'll give them away. And then I'm counting on the fact that, it's me, so some of them aren't going to make it all the way through till they grow. One of the things we've got going against us, today it's February 20-something, and it's 70 degrees here in South Mississippi. So 2 blocks off the beach, 70 degrees. Sun's out right now. I got my sunburned face from the Mardi Gras parade. And, we had fog roll in this morning. Now it's blue skies, not a cloud around. And very comfortable. Great day to work out in the yard. So without further ado, let's take a walk around and let's look at the beds, and I'll tell you the process that I did to get them back into shape. Now really, I don't think I need to belabor you with showing you video of me digging dirt. I'll just tell you how I did it, and then you can take that for what it's worth, and you can maybe use my technique, or maybe you have a better technique that you can leave in the comments below. But let's get to it. All right, guys, here are the garden beds that we have on the west side. And if you recall from last year, we had a variety of stuff in these beds. And then it was, I'm not even gonna lie to you. We had peppers, the bags weren't there in the middle. Then we had the green beans, and at the end we did tomatoes in the beginning of the year. We did green beans, cucumbers at the end of the year, or vice versa. We did cucumbers in the beginning, then we went green beans. So what I did, if you remember my friend Howard, last year he bought that giant load of horse manure. And so what I did was I composted some of it, and then others I put in the beds, and I amended the beds. Now, that was pretty spectacular, because when I took the mulch off, and on some of these beds I had mulched with hay, and on the other beds I mulched with wood chips, I just took my iron rake and raked it off. In the beds that had the manure mix, there were earthworms right on top of the bed, between the mulch and the dirt. And they were happy, they were fat, there was a bunch of them. And that, as I've learned, is an indicator of good soil. So what I've learned, and what Howard told me, was that the store-bought stuff isn't necessarily full. It's got fertilizer in it, and it has some wood product, but it's not full of life. It doesn't have the microbes that you need. It doesn't have the nutrients and ingredients for life to thrive. And so, you know, in comparison to the buckets, which have only store-bought stuff in them, there is, quote, no life in them. It's a medium with a bunch of fertilizer in it. And what we'll be doing this year is, as I grow with that, my compost will be coming ready, and I'll take that dirt and mix with my compost, and I'll make it more living soil. So let's get to what we did with the beds. What I did first, like I said, I took my iron rake and I raked the mulch off. And this was for a couple reasons. I think I'm going, ooh, here goes Squirrel Patrol. Is there a squirrel? Yeah, maybe so. So, Squirrel Patrol. All right, so step one, I took the mulch off, and that's because I'm going with, I have a bay of used hay over there, or last year's hay, that's been sitting out, and I'm gonna use that as mulch. And I like that as mulch because when you spread the mulch to get to the dirt to put the plant in, the wood chips will fall inside the hole. And you don't want your wood chips in your soil, you want them on your soil, because if the wood chips are in the soil, they'll start to break down. But to break down, they need nitrogen. So they'll pull nitrogen from your soil around the area of your plants, and then your plants won't get enough nitrogen. So I'm gonna put the hay on the top instead, and that'll work out. The second thing that I did was I took my pitchfork and I pitchforked the dirt just to break it up and get some aeration in. So I didn't turn the dirt, I didn't till the dirt, I just poked a bunch of holes in it to get a bunch of air in there to kind of loosen it up a little bit. Then I took my 3-pronged fork and I kind of leveled it out a little bit, which was scuffing the top. And then I came in with either my compost or my amended soil from the nursery. And what I did to amend the soil was I took my wheelbarrow and I would put about 10 scoops of the soil conditioner, they call it. And essentially their soil conditioner is basically a mix of dirt/sand and wood product. And then I would mix it with mushroom compost. I would put in a cup of 10-10-10 fertilizer, a cup of Solomon's Gold, which if you look on David the Good's channel, he's a guy here on YouTube, and there's a guy named Steve Solomon, he's a soil specialist, and what he did was he came up with this mix of ingredients which are minerals and nutrients that your plants need to be successful. And David the Good is a big proponent of this. And so for Christmas last year, my friend Glenn, and you've seen Glenn on the video, he gave me a big old bucket full of pre-mixed Solomon's Gold. That's what it's called. And so I took a cup of that, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But essentially, I mixed all that together. So where I wasn't putting the straight sand mix on the beds, I was putting a good mix. And because these beds had sunk down a lot, if you remember, they were down, some of them as much as 2 inches. So what I did, once I poured in the fill, I took my little scuffle hoe and I scuffed it up again, and I kind of mixed the top with the pre-existing soil that was in the bed. And then I went about doing that to all the beds. And so once I got all the beds done, I came back, I sprinkled them with the Solomon's mix, the Solomon's Gold, and then I went to fixing the irrigation systems. So that was pretty simple, you know, and the plan forward from here, once I get the irrigation systems working, they're not all working that great. Some of these nozzles are from like last year or from the first year that I had them. And but the emitters, I'll go to the big box store and get a bag of emitters, and then I'll fiddle with it as time goes on. That's kind of the fun of it. Come out here every day and tweak it a little bit. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to get my potatoes, come out here, I'm gonna plant some potatoes in the bags in the middle. I'm gonna plant some potatoes probably in these 2 beds right here. And then I'm gonna cover everything back up with hay. And I'll cover this entire row before the end of the day today with hay. And that way, I'll help keep the moisture in. It keeps the sun from drying out the top layers of the soil. And that's that. You know, pretty simple. Let me recap, because I think I forgot for sure one thing. So when I was mixing that soil, it was, I did the soil mix from the farm, from the nursery. Then I did 10-10-10 fertilizer. I did a scoop of alfalfa pellets. and I put those in there. So I put 2 scoops of alfalfa pellets in there, and alfalfa pellets, they're compressed and dehydrated like, and then when they get wet, they'll expand and then they break up, and then they add nutrients and soil, nitrogen and stuff to the soil. And then it was some perlite, yeah, perlite, and then after all that, I mixed it all together and then got to it with the Solomon's Gold, and then some beds I may have sprinkled a little 10-10-10 on the top also. But that's it, that's all I did. So I'm ready, I'm pretty hyped up about this year. I think this is gonna be a great year. I fear that we're gonna have another hot summer like we did last year. So I gotta get the potatoes in the ground now, and once the potatoes are in the ground, I'll start the things in the house. I'm about 2-3 weeks late on starting my starts, but that's okay. We have a long growing season. I'm growing mainly determinate tomatoes this year, and so we'll see how it all plays out. Let's take a tour and see some of the stuff that we've got cooking down here. Okay, we're gonna do a flyby of the beds, and as you can see, they're all looking pretty even out. That light brown stuff you see, that's the Solomon's Gold. And you know, you can look that up if you look on David the Good's channel. I'm not gonna steal his thunder. He's got a whole video out there about it, and you know, you should be watching David the Good anyway for helping your soil. We got our 2 buckets. Carrots are doing good. All these buckets were empty yesterday morning, and now they're full. And I'm gonna put potatoes in them, among other things. I'm gonna put the cucumbers and stuff. Cucumbers and some beans. I'm gonna use my fence as a trellis. Okay, here, these are gonna become potato pots, and I've left a little room at the top for me to add in some compost. But what I'm gonna do is come in, put in my potatoes. All that white stuff you're seeing, that's perlite. And the good thing about these bags is that they drain well. So I'm going to hand water them. I'm not going to rely on the drainage or the watering system. I'm going to do it myself. And then if you recall, the problem I had with my potatoes last year was they were too wet and they rotted out. So hopefully we won't have that problem this year. But these are the beds. That's the mulch. And there's the Squirrel Patrol. Ever diligent, doing their job. Hopefully not getting eaten by that hawk that just flew over. It's a big old hawk too, man. All right, well, so, you know, there's that. All right, here we go. The carrots are looking good. So is the Dutch cabbage. I'm gonna get them fertilized here before too long. These are my bunch of onions and some carrots. These are white onions and actually a couple carrots mixed in. These 2 buckets have to be refurbed like all the others. These are gonna be some red onions, though I don't, we're gonna check those out and see what's all in with them. My broccoli is looking good, finally came to, but I really think that the broccoli, like, it's not as tight as it's supposed to be. So I think it's probably because of the warmth, about ready to make a snack. Here we have some cabbages. Now there's my rosemary. I transplanted the rosemary yesterday. It's not looking too hot, but I had put it in that bucket. I'm gonna end up getting rid of these buckets so that I can get everything into those black buckets down there, something that looks like that. It's all nice uniform size, and they're 10 gallons, and that way I have uniformity throughout the garden. The other thing would be, I hope to build a rack for those black buckets so that I can put them in and it'll look nice, but it'll also be functional. Those black buckets, they get pretty hot in the sunshine, so I want to make sure that they don't overheat and cook in the summer, and I can do that by, you know, putting them inside like a container or something. This bed hasn't been redone yet, but this was one of the beds that I put the wood chips on. And then we come over here, here's the hay barrel or hay bundle that I'm going to use for the mulch. And then over here we've got cauliflower and broccoli, but I cut the broccoli off. I ate it a couple days ago. But this, look at this head right here. Woo, that's looking good. And then this one is bolting. So that one's about ready to go. That broccoli's done. This bed needs to be refurbished and filled up. But you can see this was just one season's worth of shrink. You know, everything settled in once the Brussels sprouts and everything was in there. The dirt settled. Now I need to go back and fill it up. Here we have the cabbages. It's a lot of cabbages. I don't know what I'm gonna do with these cabbages. I think you make coleslaw with these, but they're purple. Now I do got the one green one there that's a champ, and he's still going. I should have left the other two in there, but we ate them and they were pretty darn good. So I was pretty happy with that. And then over here, we've got the radishes along the edge, and then we've got lettuce in the middle. And so as the lettuce develops a little more, I'm gonna go ahead in and thin it out. So look at Squirrel Patrol being all vigilant over there. It's late in the afternoon. The squirrel comes out late in the afternoon. Yeah, that's what they're looking for. So it's like 5 o'clock Charlie, you know. But here's the garden. I'm pretty happy with the work that I've got done today. You know, and yesterday. I've been working a lot. And I got all those beds done and the irrigation set up. That was a mammoth task. And so over the next few days, over this next weekend, I'll touch these beds up and I'll get their irrigation systems buried in the ground. And heck, we'll be ready for some plants. Okay guys, there you have it. You know, that's the garden tour. That's your garden update for this week. Man, I'm sunburnt and I'm dirty. And that's good to go. It makes me happy. The garden is looking good. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have a booming year this year. I'm pretty excited. I got some maintenance to do, some weeding and stuff. And then it's gonna be about getting plants in the ground. You know, like I said, I am late getting my tomatoes and stuff in the starting trays, but that's okay. If something happens and anything goes wrong, I'll just go to the big box store and I'll grab some tomatoes there. I'm doing more determinate tomatoes this year because I'm gonna go one and done with the tomatoes. I'll probably do some cherry tomatoes and some indeterminate tomatoes. But for the most part, it's gonna be that and then early season squash and zucchini. Try and get those knocked out before the vine borers get here. So, so for right now, it's all about potatoes and itchy nose. And then, you know, about getting the beds prep, getting the potatoes in the ground, and then getting started with the 2023 garden season. So as always, guys, you know, I always tell you, get a hobby. You know, if you're new to gardening, look, you can do it. You could get buckets. You could get, you know, some wood pallets. You know, you could do a lot with a little. You don't have to go out and buy these aluminum beds, and you don't have to go out and spin yourself silly. Just go to the big box store, pick up a couple of, you know, big box store buckets, get some dirt in the dirt section, and then get some tomato plants, some cucumber plants, you know, and then go to town. So, you know, I've saved money this year from inflation going up and everything, buying stuff in the grocery store from eating stuff out of my garden. And who knew that that was going to happen, you know. But I like it because I get to get out here and I have something to do and I have something to talk to people who share a common interest in gardening about. So I think that it's a good hobby. I think you should do it too. Stay by, you know, we're going to have a lot more videos when we get down into how we do stuff. And, you know, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed, you know, please, you know, give me a subscription if you think I'm doing a good job, but give me a thumbs up. If you got something to say or how can I can improve, you know, put it in the comments. So I don't want this channel to become a job. So I do most stuff unscripted, kind of off the cuff, if you haven't noticed. But I think that way it stays honest and it stays what I intended to be is a hobby. So there you go. So, all right, y'all, it's Carl here. You know, Cultivate with Carl. Finishing up the garden work. I just put my sunglasses under my hat. Finishing up my work for the weekend. Getting some potatoes in the ground. Gotta love them potatoes. And we will catch you later on Cultivate with Carl.